Welcome back. The Supreme Court is set to hear a case today that could have a major impact on those experiencing homelessness in this country. The case stems from ordinances in Grants Pass, Oregon, that bar people from camping on public property. Critics say that the rules criminalize homelessness. This morning, the justices will weigh an appeals court ruling that found those laws are prohibited under the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Right now, the number of people living in America without a permanent residence is at record highs. NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley joins us with more on this. Lawrence, good morning. Good to have you with us. You're our Supreme Court guru. Take us through the case that's going to be heard by the Supreme Court today. What exactly are the justices weighing here?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, the key issue here is this issue of punishing people for being homeless. The advocates for homeless who filed this class action lawsuit are saying, they're not challenging cities' ability to enforce, the usual kind of ordinances they have for public health and people sleeping out and those kind of things. What they're saying is they can't punish people who have nowhere else to go. That's the key issue here. So basically, there's fines, there's penalties, there's potentially jail time for people who are sleeping on the street. They don't have anywhere else to go because this city in Oregon doesn't have very many beds, very limited space. The city says maybe they could just go to other places outside of the city. But the appeals court that upheld the ruling in favor of these homeless people said that's not good enough. The city has to do what it can within its own jurisdiction. It can't rely on other cities to do its job for them.
Lawrence, what impact could this case have on how local and state governments tackle this issue as we see these populations rise?
I mean, it could be a huge deal because if the court was to uphold this appeals court ruling in favor of the homeless people, suddenly a ruling that was at the moment only applies to Western states would apply to the whole country. And then, of course, on the other side, if the court overturns that decision, it's a big blow for homeless advocates. And we can hear a little bit now from Ed Johnson, one of the lawyers for the homeless people in Oregon.
Whatever the Supreme Court decides will become the law of the land. And if cities are allowed to engage in this kind of total criminalization where people are essentially banished from the city borders, it will be chaos. People will have nowhere to go. They have to live somewhere. But cities will have a new incentive to be meaner than their neighbors so that people don't move to town.
So as you can see, for the advocates, the stakes are high because a ruling against them, they think, could really empower cities to be more punitive against the growing homeless population.
So, Lawrence, I mean, depending on what the ultimate ruling is here, will cities have to put protections in place possibly to avoid overreach by the lower courts so they can still conduct sweeps on encampments but shield themselves from outright bans? And just a second question here, when do we think we'll get a ruling in this case?
Yes, so the homeless advocates will be very concerned if the court overturns this appeals court ruling because, it will empower cities to be more, punitive against homeless people, as I mentioned. If it's the other way around, the cities will feel like their hands are tied, that maybe they won't be able to enforce the ordinances they already have. With the growing homeless population, they're concerned about public health and safety and these kind of things. They might be worried that even some of the things they do routinely will then get punished. They'll get sued for, potentially covered by an injunction. So these will all be issues addressed during the oral argument today, and we'll expect a ruling by the end of June.
All right, Lawrence Hurley, we know you'll be keeping an eye on this one and many other cases this week. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.